Hi, guys. It's Sven from Badass Counseling. So we created the Badass Counseling group on Facebook, and it grew to well over 45,000 members. And we kept getting asked by folks for a support group, a growth group that's more intimate, gives more access to me, Sven, if possible. So the Badass Counseling team got together, and they created Community Plus. For a monthly fee that isn't cheap, you get direct access to me 2 times a month where you can submit your questions directly. Monthly drawings for a small group counseling session with me. Monthly drawings for one-on-one counseling sessions with me. Priority Pass access to go to the front of the waiting list for ongoing counseling with me. Priority Pass access to be considered to be counseled by me on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Direct access to my top 2 selling video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. Interviews with people who've had success in their soul journey, some well-known and some everyday folks like you and me. And a fantastic opportunity to meet and get to know other men and women who take their healing and growth seriously and who do the work. And a social community feed where folks share their challenges, their struggles, and their triumph. And so much more. So go now to badasscounseling.com. Click on the Community Plus sign-up page for premium content and direct access to me and to like-minded people who are committed to healing, growth, and creating a community of support and happiness.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello, fine people. You have reached an episode of the Badass Counseling Show Lightning Round. It is fantastic to have you here. I'm Sven Erlandson, the host of this show. And whether you are checking in from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, or Leesburg, Virginia, wherever it might be across any ocean, Sweden, or South Africa, South America. We have listeners around the world, and we love having you here with us. I am joined by our producers in the studio. I've got KC over in the booth, and I've got Rob the Rocket sitting next to me. Rob, what say ye?
I'm doing all right, Sven. Always glad to be by your side. Do whatever I can to help out.
Thank you so much. Great to have you here. And we are taking questions, and I'm going to fire it right up. Here we go. Eddie asked the question, can get past thinking everything is an attack. It's affecting my marriage and life. And I think Eddie means to say I can't get past thinking everything is an attack and it's affecting my marriage and life. Eddie, what that means is that you are terrified, my man. If we think of everything as attack and a potential attack or is an attack, it means you are living in fear. And if it's affecting your marriage, likely it's creating fights, right? That everything that your partner says, husband, wife, whatever it is, however you lean, whatever, you are taking umbrage at it. You're taking offense at it, and you're responding with what? With swords out, right? With knives out. You're coming back with an attack, right? Because you see it as a slant. You're seeing it as a hit on you. And so what that means is we live in fear if we've been hurt in the past, and that pain, we haven't gotten that pain out of us. And so what has to happen is we have to get that pain out of us. You have to get that pain out of you, because the more we get the pain out and get it out and get it out, the more you flush out that pain, Eddie, the less fear you have. But because you have so much pain, you have so much fear of getting hurt again. Does that make sense? And it's like, well, why would I want to go back into that past pain? That shit fucking hurts. The whole point is I'm trying to avoid the fucking pain. No, right, exactly. You're trying to avoid the pain, but the point is it's being caused by this pain in the past. And so you're putting up these walls now, or you're constantly fighting now because you don't want to hurt again. So you have to dump out. It's like, if you have a cup of piping hot, I mean the hottest of the hot, like Starbucks coffee or whatever your coffee company is where you get your coffee. And it's so fucking hot. And you put that on a coffee table, all right? And then you just shake that, you agitate that table just a little bit. What's going to happen? Well, piping hot coffee is going to come spilling out. Or if you go and you drop in, or pour in just a teaspoonful of more piping hot coffee, what's going to spill in? Or what's going to spill out? Oh, all that fucking hot coffee. Even if you drop in an ice cube, something cold, something not even hot, right? What's going to happen? If fucking hot shit is going to spill out. But here's the really interesting thing, Eddie. That piping hot, scalding, burning coffee is not going to burn Tom, who is way over on the other side of the room. It is going to burn Susie, your wife, and Billy and Sammy and Tommy, little Tommy, who are your kids, and your wife, who are sitting right next to that scalding hot cup of coffee. We always burn the people who are closest to us. So what you got to do so that you can handle more hot stuff or more crud being dumped into your cup is you got to empty out that cup. That's what it means to go inside of yourself and begin to flush out the pain, the fears, and the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself, which is precisely why I wrote the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. All right, next question. Here we go. Well, it's funny because Susan Romero basically just said the exact same thing over on TikTok. Things are going well in my life. Why am I always afraid that something is going to happen to wreck this? It is like my life right now is too good to be true. In a way, it's similar, but it's sort of different. It's that living in fear, Susan. You're living in fear that when something's going well, that it's going to go bad. So you've got the pain in the past. You've got things in the past that have fallen apart. And so everything feels real fucking fragile right now. It's too good to be true. So you've got a lot of fear. All you have to do right now, Susan, the way you fucking calm yourself the fuck down, honestly, is go inside and start journaling about all of the fears you have. I would literally just start bullet pointing all the ways that your life could fall apart right now. And I know that sounds insane, but put it on paper. Well, this person could leave me, and my friends could all say I'm fucked in the head, and people could start spreading lies about me, and my kids, my adult kids could lose their jobs, and then they have to come live with me, and I really love them, and it'd be fun to have them living with me, but I can't afford to have them live with me. Just start journaling out everything. And then next to every one of those bullet points, I want you to list every single potential feeling that you would feel if that thing happened. And then journal about all those. Take it to the most illogical extreme and how it would feel and what you would think, and flush and keep flushing out all your fears. Because the more we flush out all of our fears, guess what happens? We begin to calm the fuck down. Because that anxiety, that fear, all those emotions inside of you, that's what gets us charged up. It's always our charged up emotions inside that cause us to feel or cause us to make the worst fucking decisions, that cause us to be always on edge, like with Eddie in the last question or with you in this question. And so we have to flush that shit out so we're able to move forward calmly and simply enjoy. But it's fear that always corrupts the process. All right, next question. Here we go. Oh, this is a great one. Gloria Batson asked the question on TikTok. Why does your narcissistic partner move on quickly instead of working on himself? I want you, Gloria, I want you to go. You are asking that question right now on TikTok. So what I want you to do after this live session is I want you to go to my page, Badass Counseling, and all of my 1,800 videos that I've posted are indexed there in little albums by topic, and you can scroll left to right on them. All right. And I want you to go to the one that lists breakups or divorce or narcissist extreme takers. I call them extreme takers. I don't call them narcissists. All right. But it says narcissist/extreme taker. I want you to go into that album. And about 2 or 3 different times, I talk about this exact thing. I want you to watch some of those videos, and I do one on this exact thing. Look, Gloria asked the question, why does your narcissistic partner, why in Gloria's case, why does Gloria's narcissistic partner move on quickly instead of working on themselves? You want to know why? Because working on yourself requires going down into the pain. See, narcissists, or what I call extreme takers, because all they do is take and take and take for themselves, they bounce right back. They go on. They go on to the next person. They bounce right on to the next person. They go bounce right out of everything, and they move right on, don't they? But they're not really, how do they bounce back? They don't bounce back. You want to know why? Because bouncing, if you bounce a ball, it implies that the ball has gone down and bounced back up. If a stock on the stock market has bounced back, that implies it went down. But your narcissistic partner never went down. Your narcissistic ex is terrified to go down. They don't want to go down. They don't want to go down into their feelings. They just want to move forward and get the next high. They want the next person to pour love into their love cup because they have a hole in the bottom of their love cup. They need somebody new. Just give me love. Just give me love. They can't bear to go down inside themselves to begin to look at how the fuck that hole got into the bottom of their love cup in the first place. And it hurts to know that they can move on so easily. On one hand, it hurts. It's like, I didn't mean anything to you if you can move on so easily. Just the opposite. Just the opposite. It's just that it's not that you didn't mean anything to them. It's just that they refuse to feel feelings. Why? It hurts too much. They can't handle real feelings. So you feeling all of those feelings, you going down into all of those feelings is the smartest fucking thing you can do. It's the hardest in the short term, but you going down into them means that you are healing. You're doing the work to heal long term. In the short term, no, it sucks. It's painful. It hurts. It's dumb. This is crazy. Why would you do it? But long term, you going down and getting out all of the pain, all of those fears, all of the hurts, all of the crappy messages that they tried to teach you about yourself and all the messages you were taught in your own childhood, you going down and allowing yourself to stay down in that while you are doing the work. And to feel that shit and to flush that shit out, to get those trains of all those feelings moving out of the station, but also to begin to identify what those core beliefs are that you were taught about yourself. That healing work means that your next relationship will be better, or your life in and of itself, of you, will be so much better. Why? Because you're not carrying your shit into your next relationship, but your narcissistic ex is carrying all that shit into the next relationship. And you're saying, why did my narcissistic partner move? How can they move on so quickly instead of working on themselves? Why did they do that? They did it because they can't bear to go down. Too scary. That's why they do it. They're terrified. They're wusses. They're cowards. They can't bear to face all the pain from their relationship, all the pain they caused, all the pain they felt, and they can't bear to go back into all the original pain sources in their own childhood. They can't bear to. They are weak. And I don't dog them because all that weakness comes from the messages they were taught about themselves and their own. And so they have to move on. They have to move on to somebody. I just need somebody new to pour love into my love cup. Please just pour love into my love cup. Please, 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 please. That's why they're doing it. Because they're terrified. But you going down into it, assuming you're doing the work to get out all the pain, the fears, and the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself, assuming you are actually doing the work, you are doing the smart thing here, my friend. All right, next question.
Simone on YouTube makes a related comment. She says, I'm in the early stages of divorcing my extreme taker. All he cares about are the dollar signs, although he brought no money and nothing else into the relationship.
Yeah, and that is the mark of an extreme taker, and or in real simple language, it's a mark of a fucking asshole. That if you're getting out of a relationship or you're in a relationship and you're concerned only about the dollars, or I don't want a divorce because, I know we have kids, but it'll end up fucking me over money-wise. Really? So you don't really care about what's in the best interest of your kids. You'd rather keep your children in a toxic fucking relationship because it's better for your pocketbook? I think that's pretty much the definition of selfish. Now, I'm not saying there aren't financial concerns in divorce. I'm not saying that. But if you're doing it strictly to protect your own pocketbook, that's a completely different conversation. All right, next question. Bohemian Cat City says, I just started dating a new person. He's amazing, but I have trust issues. How can I build trust? You're asking the wrong question. Bohemian Cat City says, he's amazing, but I have trust issues. How can I build trust? If you have trust issues, then building trust isn't the problem per se. It sounds, you've got somebody sitting right in front of you who's a great person who you have no reason to not trust. If you have trust issues, the act of building trust, you can't build trust yet because you have trust issues. It's like saying, it's like going in, you know what? I got to build this shed for my house. I need a shed to store my new mower in, my electric mower, because we're not using gas mowers anymore, and my electric mower, and I need something to park it in, and here's my hammer, but my hammer is broken. So how am I going to build this shed with a broken hammer? No, you're going to fix your hammer first. You can't build a shed with a broken hammer. I mean, you probably could, but it's going to be infinitely more work. Why don't you fix the hammer first or get a new hammer, right? So when you admit, and I'm not dogging you for having trust issues, there's nothing wrong with that. We've all gone through periods of having trust issues or anger issues, or there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But if you say you have trust issues, you're not ready to build the shed. Your hammer is broken. So what you have to do is do the work to build, rebuild, fix, go down into your own trust issues. That means you have to go into, in your own journaling, when was I hurt? How was I hurt? How did it feel? Why did it hurt so much? What else? What else? Why? When? Going down into it and flushing. And all of those feelings that you have felt and all of the fear. See, if you have trust issues, what that fundamentally means is I have pain from the past and I have fear of trusting again. Why? Because I fear that I might get hurt again. It hurts so much, I am afraid I might get hurt again. I don't want to feel those feelings again. So you have to go down and journal on fear, journal on the pain that happened. And you have to begin to flush that out. James responds, trust is always earned and it can't be given. Yes and no. It's both. But that doesn't apply here per se, James, because she's not even in a place where she can allow someone to earn her trust because she's admitting that she has trust issues. So she has to fix her own issues because she's not ready to meet this person who may be a fully trustworthy person, but she may fuck it up because she's living in such a state of fear. All right, next question.
You know, that reminds me of the guy who takes his car into the shop and says, my brakes don't work. Please fix my horn.
That's good. That's right. I can't stop. Beep, beep, beep. I got to be able to honk louder so people get the fuck out of my way. I love that joke. That's great. I've never heard that one, Rob.
First time for everything.
Another witticism. All right. Oh, I love this one. You know what? We are on a narcissist thread tonight. Not the first time. Here we go. Michelle Lee says, why do I feel so much guilt for divorcing a narcissist? You want to know why? As most of you know, if you follow my show or if you follow if you've read my books or if I've spoken at an event that you've been at, I don't use the phrase narcissist. Narcissist is for psychologists, it's in therapists and so forth. It is a medical term. I am not a medical professional. However, I did study the classics quite extensively, 2 different versions of Greek and Latin and so forth. So I technically could use it, but alas, I'll stay in my lane for the purposes of our work here. And so I don't use the word narcissist. I use the words extreme taker. So I'm going to insert that here when I'm answering Michelle Lee's question, and it may actually offer some insight. Why do I feel so much guilt for divorcing an extreme taker? Now, think about the question. Why do I feel guilt for divorcing an extreme taker? Because a narcissist or an extreme taker, if you're in a relationship with that type of person, what do we know about that? We know that it's all about them always 24/7 or for the most part. You are always in the business of pouring love into their love cup. And if they ever pour any love into your love cup, for the most part, it's fucking transactional. And they're either using you or they're manipulating you or there's going to be some expectation or some fucking guilt trip to get you right back pouring love into their fucking love cup, right? It's all about them. Why do you feel guilt for divorcing a narcissist? Because you did something that was about you. And you've been conditioned long before you met this narcissist, but you've been living out this conditioning of it's supposed to be all about them. So here you are doing something for you. You're bad. You're a bad girl. You're bad. You did something for you. It's supposed to be all about me. I'm the center of this relationship. I'm the extreme taker. You're doing something for you. You're bad. That's why you feel guilt. But here's the thing, Michelle. You did not become an extreme. And see, usually anyone who's in a relationship with an extreme taker is some derivative of an extreme giver themselves. You did not become an extreme giver in all likelihood in this relationship. You were set up. There was fertile soil for this relationship long before you met this person. In fact, in my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, one of the things I talk about is that every problem in a marriage predates that relationship. That you were operating on your conditioned self. You were already conditioned to believe that some version of you don't matter. And so the notion of you pouring love, spending your life pouring love into someone else's love cup, you making it all about the other person, that conditioning was already part of what the messages that got pressed into the wet cement of your soul as a child. So you finally standing up and making a bold move for you in your life, that was fresh territory. That was virgin turf. And you feel guilt over it. And so what you have to be doing is journaling on, flushing out all of the feelings of guilt. But also this is where we get down into real core belief stuff. You need to be going down into, because I guarantee you, down in your core beliefs that you were taught about yourself that you probably can't even see right now. There is some derivative of you don't matter. You're not important. You're not lovable. What you want doesn't matter. And so for you taking steps such as that, you taking actions that send the underlying message, I matter, it goes against everything you were conditioned to believe about yourself. That's powerful shit, but you got to get the rest of those messages out of you. And that's why I wrote the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. All right, much more to come right after this short break.
So I was telling a buddy of mine how he seems happier. He told me about the book that changed his life. So I bit. I went to the Badass Counseling website and downloaded There's a Hole in My Love Cup audiobook. I started listening to it on my commute home from work, and holy cow, it was a Louisville slugger to the face. I literally sat in my car in the driveway night after night, listening through to the end of a chapter or doing the journaling exercises. My wife started to see changes. I started to change a lot. My default response stopped always being anger. Now I manage a team of salespeople, and I changed as a leader. I was listening more, not always just reacting. When their numbers started going up seemingly out of nowhere, I knew what the reason was. There's a Hole in My Love Cup is now required listening for any person on my sales team or working for me, and I gladly buy it for them. You gotta listen to this book.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
All right, here we go. I have a question from Marie Keppel over on Facebook. How do I stop sabotaging myself in relationships? Now, normally if I hear that question, I'm generally going to go this direction, but then what she follows it up with caused me to kind of go this direction. Here we go. Every time something amazing happens, I create a problem. All right. Well, if we're creating a problem, that's not you creating a problem. That's your fear creating a problem. But let's keep going. How do I not apologize 5 to 10 minutes after setting a boundary that took me 3 days to finally express verbally to my partner? Okay, that's fear. You've just stood up to yourself. This is very similar to the question that I just answered for Michelle right before our break. You're terrified. All right? You just stood up for yourself. You just did something bold. You stood up for yourself, and you had to conjure up the energy for 3 days to stand up and say no. And a boundary is a no. And we say no, this doesn't feel good. No, I don't want to do this. No, you can't do this to me. No, that's not fair. No comes from a place, it comes with a hint of sort of righteous anger to it. And as I talk about in the book, children shout loudest when feeling heard least. People shout loudest when feeling heard least. In that anger is our no. No, this isn't okay. No, this doesn't feel good to me. No, you can't treat me this way. No, I don't want to do that. Inside of our no is the most precious thing in life. Inside of our no is our I. I don't like this. This doesn't feel good to me. No, you can't do this to me. So inside of that anger is the no. Inside of the no is the I. So finding your anger, finding your no is a blessed thing. Finding that boundary is a wonderful thing because it's you finally finding yourself. And then you apologize 5 to 10 minutes after doing it because you feel bad for standing up for you, just like Michelle 2 minutes ago. Because you've been so conditioned in your life to believe you suck. You don't matter. You're not important. I guarantee if Vegas were giving me odds, I would bet my left testicle because I guarantee you were taught in your childhood, you were conditioned to believe that who you really are doesn't matter. That what you want, your voice, can't be trusted. You're not worth spending time around. You got some derivative of that message. And so you sabotage, when you stand up for yourself, you sabotage that. Why? Because you feel bad. You're afraid the person will leave you. You feel bad because it goes against all those core beliefs you were taught to believe about yourself. But here's the thing. The thing I don't like about your question is the very first thing you say, how do I stop sabotaging myself in relationships? I don't like the word myself. Or actually, I don't like the word I. How do I stop sabotaging myself? It's not you doing the sabotaging. You're not doing, that's not your authentic I. Your authentic I is the one that is standing up with a fist and saying no. That's your authentic I. Your authentic I is the one that is standing up and drawing that line and setting that boundary. That's your authentic you. The one that's apologizing a few minutes later, that's the one that's afraid. That's all your conditioning from your past, the one that's saying, you don't matter. And so you're afraid. Oh, but I don't matter. I suck. I'm unimportant. That's all the bullshit you were taught to believe about yourself. Somebody taught a child in your past, somebody taught you when you were a child that you weren't important, that you didn't matter. You may think you had lovely parents, and maybe in many ways they were, but somehow you got the message that what you want, who you really are, doesn't fucking matter. And as a result, you feel guilty when you stand up for yourself. You see the problem, right? Because think about it. If you have children of your own, would you want your children feeling guilty standing up for themselves? I'm betting the answer is no. Right. And yet here you are. Do you think that's you sabotaging yourself? No, that's all the bullshit messages you were taught about yourself. So how do you stop? You stop by going inside of yourself and beginning to identify those core fucking beliefs you were taught about yourself. Again, precisely why I wrote the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It's to completely kick your ass and change your life. But you got to bring the fucking courage. It's to take you in and to begin to identify those core beliefs. What makes it different from therapy? This is self-help work, all right? What makes it different from therapy, a lot of therapy, not all therapy, but a lot of therapy, is that it's not just about going in and getting all the feelings out, which is very important, don't get me wrong, and getting a lot of pain and the fears out. Very important, don't get me wrong. But it's identifying the core beliefs that you were taught about yourself, because until you identify those core beliefs and also then release all the feelings at the notion that, wait a minute, my parents taught a fucking child I'm unlovable, I'm not wanted, I'm not good enough, who I really am doesn't matter, and getting all those feelings out about the thought of that. But finally breaking up those core beliefs you were taught about yourself. Until you do that, you're going to continue to repeat patterns, whether in this relationship or the next relationship. Next question. Tyler Jones asked the question, how do I stop being the extreme taker? I admire you for even fucking ask that question, Tyler. I really do. That's a great question. And I held my feed here because I wanted to address your question. I get a lot of people asking how to change an extreme taker, but we get fewer. We get some, and we've had some extreme takers on the show wanting counseling. And if you want to come on the show and counsel with me on one of our counseling episodes, you can do that. You can write into production@badasscounseling.com. And normally, though, an extreme taker or a narcissist, as most folks call them, won't change until the pain gets really, really bad. And that pain usually comes in the particular flavor of loss. There has to be some categorically huge loss. And if you're with an extreme taker, the loss of you leaving may not be the loss that causes them to change. And that's sad, but it may not be you. Maybe it'll be their kids, or maybe it'll be something else. But it's you, and it may be money, whatever, but it's going to be lost. But the mere fact that you're even considering how do you stop, it's not necessarily how you stop per se. The real question is, do you have the courage to go into the very pain and the core beliefs that you were taught about yourself that are causing you to act in this manner? One of the things I talk about in my book, Tyler, is I mentioned that a few things. One, change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. But I also mentioned that trying to change behaviors up here on the surface, if up here on the surface of our lives is our actions and our behaviors, trying to change behaviors never changes behaviors long term. You have to go down to the root belief systems driving those behaviors. Otherwise, those changes in behaviors will boomerang right back to the old fucking behaviors. And so what you have to do, Tyler, you have to go down to those core fucking beliefs that you were taught about yourself, which means going way back into your childhood shit, because that's where those messages about you and about your worth or lack of worth got pressed into the wet cement of your soul. Tyler follows up by saying, in my previous relationship, I just felt like my confidence was being destroyed, my self-esteem. Yeah, that stuff wasn't destroyed in that relationship alone. There was fertile ground. When those seeds get planted inside of a person in a relationship, you suck, or you're such a shitty husband, or God, you're a horrible lover. And, I heard that shit in my relationships, in a couple of relationships alone. Maybe I was a horrible lover, but really, that's how you're going to fucking sell your message? You're a shitty lover. You got a small penis, whatever. Yeah, I actually heard that. Thank you. Yeah, so the thing is, those seeds, in order for them to take root, they have to find fertile ground. And what I'm saying, Tyler, in order to heal from that, you've got to go back into your past to find what the hell created fertile ground for me to believe that I'm fucking shit. And you're becoming a narcissist or acting narcissistically or an extreme taker is a response to that child being taught that they aren't worth a shit. A narcissist is responding to a belief system that they've been taught about themselves. It's really a little different from the belief system the extreme giver is taught about themselves. And that is that you don't matter. You're not important. You're unlovable. You're not good enough. You're not wanted. It's just that each of them is responding in a very different way. One is trying to get love by taking it. The other is trying to get love by giving it in extreme amounts, hoping you'll then give some back. Neither is a healthy long-term solution. Both cause their own forms of pain, both to the person and to others, actually. But the bottom line is, Tyler, is you have to go into that shit in your past. Otherwise, you'll never fucking heal from it. And it's brutal and it's ugly, as I've been saying to other people here today. But once you have the courage to go into that shit, and again, that's what I wrote the book for. That's what this fucking podcast is for. Once down into the deep shit, the core beliefs you were taught about yourself. Once you have the courage to do that shit, dude, everything motherfucking changes. But right into the show. Right into our producers at production@badasscounseling.com. And, tell them in 250 words or less and ask to come on the show. And maybe they'll pick you and I'll counsel you personally. All right, next question. It's funny, Tyler, because over here, Fudge Factory Grill and Ice Cream says, thank you, Sven. Tyler, that is a great question. Tyler, you're fucking nailing it. Oh, Tyler follows up with one more. It's fucking Tyler Day here. Dude, you are getting the fucking counseling. This is the last one I'm giving you. So, okay, so here you go, young man. All right, but I'm going to give it to you because this is, you seem to have fucking got the peanut gallery loving on you here, brother. All right, Tyler says, my mother died when I was 6. Fucking hell, I'm sorry, man. I never had a dad. There was family bullying until 16, and my life's been wild. Well, your life being wild after that, I have no doubt that's true, but all of it happened by the time you're 6, by the time you're 8, by the time you're 10. Mother died when I was 6. All right. So, and never had a dad. So in other words, all your protection was gone at 6. Mom was protection. Dad's gone. So he's not protecting you, and so you've got this little child, this little cute, wonderful, sweet, smart, creative, playful, rambunctious, ornery when he doesn't get a nap, maybe steal a little extra cookie if he could, like every other kid, right? Just wanting love, just wanting attention. You were a wonderful boy. How do I know that? Because every kid is wonderful, man. You were this wonderful, sweet, beautiful boy, just wanting love poured into your love cup. That's it. That's all he wanted. Attention, time, kind words, right? Usual. But then your mother died, which, first of all, caused enormous grief inside a child. My mother died at 93, and I was terrifically sad. My 5 siblings, anyone who knew her was sad, but especially us kids and in-laws and so forth. Imagine a 6-year-old. One of the things that a lot of people say is the hardest thing in the world is to see your child die. And I say that's true. But I would put up there equal with that is being a child and watching your parent die. People don't talk about that one. And you lived through it, Tyler. And I'm willing to bet that all that pain of your mother's death is still in there. And the pain of my dad didn't want me. You say, I never had a dad. Yes, you did. You would not exist without a dad unless you were artificially inseminated. But even still then, you had, okay, if you were artificially inseminated, technically you didn't have a dad. But I'm willing to bet, just based on the odds of how few people are actually artificially inseminated without a dad, I'm willing to bet you did have a dad. Your dad simply wasn't present. So then you're dealing with not only that little boy lost his mother, so you've got all the grief over that, but then you've also got all the pain over my dad didn't want me. And then on top of that, you've got all the pain of the aloneness. You hear that silence? That's Tyler's life at age 6, alone. But then there's the family bullying, and all of a sudden it's not so quiet. All of a sudden, you're not dealing with just the aloneness. You're not just dealing with a father who doesn't want you. You're not just dealing with not being protected by your mother because your mother's dead. You're not just dealing with the grief of mom's dead. Now you're dealing with all these messages of shit and manure and rocks and pebbles and crud being dumped inside of you, being told you're shit. Now, what do you think the messages are that got pressed into the wet cement of that child's soul, people? I don't matter. My dad's not here to protect me. I feel so alone. I don't matter. And then people telling him he's shit and criticizing and bullying. Yeah. And mind you, Tyler is the one that opened by saying, how do I stop being a narcissist? This motherfucker admits he's a narcissist, which takes immense courage. He admits I've been he admits I've been hurting people. He admits I've been using people. And we track it all the way back and we realize, holy shit, this was a kid just trying to survive. This was a kid with massive amount of pain. Does that excuse the pain he's causing now? No. But it tells us exactly where we need to go if we want to heal this shit if we're Tyler. That until all that pain gets out of you, until all the rage gets out of you for the father who left you, at the family members who fucking bullied you, and that you don't have to go to the person and confront the actual living, breathing person, but you do have to go into your past and confront that person of your past. You don't have to talk to the living, breathing person that you can touch, but go inside of you and confront those people and their messages that are inside of you. Yes, and that's what journaling is for. That's what writing letters that you don't send. And I step you through that whole fucking process in the book. There's a hole in my love cup. Or, like I said, come on the show, counsel with me for free, right? If you get chosen by our producers, right into production at badasscounseling.com. But all those messages and all that pain and all the fears and all the bullshit beliefs you were taught about yourself, that is what has caused you to be trying to get love. You had none as a child, none. And so you've been trying to steal it wherever you could. It's like a little kid growing up on the streets of like fucking Mumbai or some shit, or Mexico City. If that kid can steal a fucking apple, do you think that kid is going to try to fucking steal an apple? Yeah. Why? Because they have no food. Parents abandon him. Can anybody blame that kid for trying to steal a fucking apple? Well, I tell you what, I can't. Is it against the law? Yeah. But the kid's trying to live and the adults abandon him and everybody's trying to beat him up in his own family. I don't blame the kid for trying to steal a fucking apple, so to speak. And you've been trying to steal love. This is what extreme takers do. They try to steal love. Why? Because it's in short supply. It has been their whole lives. And so when one is finally ready to change, they have to go into that past shit, just like the extreme giver has to do. All right, next question. Amber asked the question, this is a hard turn in a new direction. Amber asked the question, how does having a partner who was sexually abused as a child for years impact a relationship? Oh, let me count the ways. Amber, it depends on the person, depends on the type of sexual abuse. It depends on so many factors. What I'm going to do, first of all, in that regard, is I'm going to steer you to any number of things, not the least of which is NAMI.org, NAMI.org. All right. They have all sorts of resources. North American Mental, I always get their thing. It's a nonprofit organization that has mental health stuff available for people in the United States. And they have all sorts of fucking resources, and you can Google all sorts of resources to understand this better. All right. I'm not going to presume to be a comprehensive source on sexual abuse. I have had tons of clients over the years who have been sexually abused, partners of sexual abuse victims, children who are being or have been sexually abused, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm by no means a sexual abuse expert. Let's be straight on that right up front. How does having a partner, or how might having a partner who was sexually abused as a child for years impact a relationship? 1, fear. 2, pain. Fear of intimacy. 2, pain. 3, they may be just going through the motions because it's safe. The real question is, how much work have they done on themselves? And that's not something you can control or not control. Have they been to therapy? Are they going to therapy? Because that's going to impact, are they talking about it? Are they willing to talk about it? And you can't force that either. But the truth is, you are in a relationship, which also means that you have a right to have a conversation. That they are in a relationship, which if you came into the relationship with an implied expectation or a spoken expectation of a sexual life, then you have every right to be able to have these conversations about sexuality. But how might sexual abuse in the past? They might be very sensitive. They might be very insecure. They might not want to have sex with the lights on. They might not want to be seen naked. They might be very protective. They might want to, of themselves, they might want to only engage in certain sexual activities and not other sexual activities. They might get very frightened by discussing sexual activity. I strongly, strongly recommend that the two of you specifically consult with a psychologist or a therapist specializing in survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And if the person should likely be in therapy on their own, but doing this together so that you can have not regular marriage counseling. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a specific sector of surviving childhood sexual abuse, because it can have so many tentacles inside of the person, but then you in relationship to that person, you have every right to have your conversations and your needs and your wants as well. It's not just all about the other person, but the mere fact that you're even asking that question is a sensitive question, and it shows your sense of caring as well and your desire to understand, and I respect that. And you need to continue to plow forward, move forward with that, but with the help of a professional and the two of you. Strongly recommend that. All right, next question. All right, here we go. Terry on Facebook says, I literally shut down when the opposite gender tries to make small talk. People dismiss it as me being shy, but I am terrified. All right. First of all, I'm sorry to hear that you're terrified. I really am, Terry. And it's nice to see you, Terry, as a regular commenter and follower of Badass Counseling. It's nice to see you, Terry. Terry, you don't indicate if this is and you don't have to indicate, and I'm going to play the ball as it lies. You don't indicate if this is with regard to romantic situation, someone of the opposite gender, if it's a dating, or if it's just a social situation of someone of the opposite gender. Now, Terry, the person's picture is a female. And so the opposite gender would then be male in this case. And so you don't say if it's a dating situation or just any sort of social situation or any sort of even a work situation, someone of the opposite gender. People dismiss it as me being shy, but you're terrified. So then clearly you either, it could be you have one or many incidents in the past with someone of the opposite gender, of males hurting you in the past. And so you are terrified of getting hurt again in the future. Or you potentially desire to connect with men, and whether romantically or just interact with as friends or as coworkers or what have you. But again, you fear either them hurting you or you fear because you don't know how to interact. But again, even if you didn't know how to interact or you fear them not liking you, the fear is that even in not knowing how to interact or what to say, or that they may not like you or what to think or any of those sorts of things, the fear is that you'll screw up, so to speak, and they'll walk away or they won't be interested or they won't like you. So there's so much fear wrapped up here. As you say, I am terrified. So the real question, Terry, is to go down inside of you and find out, well, what are the roots of this fear, of this terror? Where does it begin? What's the origin? Where does it start? What's the earliest you recall of being terrified of interacting with men? And, does it go back to, let's say, teenage years? Or were you terrified of interacting with men before that? Or maybe it's not even men. Maybe you simply desire to interact with men, but maybe you were taught by maybe a woman. Maybe it has nothing to do with gender at all, not who you're terrified of, but where you got the messaging. Maybe you simply got messaging that you're no good or you're unlovable or you're weird, or maybe you got criticized a lot, or maybe you were undermined a lot as a child. And so it causes you to doubt yourself and question yourself and think, oh, I'm no good or no one's going to like me. And so if you desire to have interaction with males, let's say romantically, and you've been taught that you're no good or you're unlovable or you're not good enough, then of course you're going to be terrified, because it doesn't matter if you were taught it by a man or a woman or a sibling. You are taught to dislike yourself. And so what has to happen, Terry, is you have to go down deep inside into your past to find out where you got those messages that you're unlovable or that you're not wantable or that you're not important. And you have to begin to dive into those and bring up those feelings that accompany those, but also begin to look at what those messages were, how they were delivered, what you grew up believing about yourself, all of that stuff. You have to dive into that and begin to bring it out into daylight and flush it out and flush it out. As I talk about in the book and on the podcast and so forth, you have to do more of that and continue that. And the more you do that, that notion that you're unlovable and you're not wantable and you're not good enough will begin to ease, abate, go away, and you'll begin to realize your lovable self. You'll begin to actually like you. And then that anxiety in the social situation will begin to diminish. That fear of not being liked, or that fear of not being understood, or that fear of not knowing what to do, you'll develop some, little tricks for just getting started. But what'll happen is you'll be far, far, far less fear of being rejected or being left or being not liked. Why? Because you will like yourself. You'll begin to fall in love with yourself. All right, next question. All right. So many great questions here tonight.
I got one here that's right in your wheelhouse, I think.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Ingclo25 on YouTube asks, how can I identify how my ex-boyfriend and my relationship with my father correlate?
All right. Well, one of the things that you can do to identify how the stuff with your father and the stuff with your ex correlate is I would begin by asking you, what's the biggest message you got from your ex? Then I'd ask you the question, what was the biggest message you got from your father? But even maybe before I ask you that question, I'd ask you, what makes you think your stuff with your ex correlates with the stuff of your father? Actually, that's the real question. Why do you think they correlate? Maybe they don't correlate at all. The mere fact that you ask that question implies that you think they do, which means you already see a correlation or a potential correlation. I would want to know, what's the potential correlation that you feel or potentially see already. I mean, why would you even put those two things together? You could have said, what's the potential correlation between my cat and, my cat that I had, when I was 23 and this plant that I have? But you chose your dad. I'm being a little silly, but I'm serious. Why would you draw a correlation between your ex and your boyfriend and your dad? It implies you already see one or a potential one. And it's almost as though you're wanting confirmation. So then I would ask you, what are the messages you got from your ex? Is it ex or present boyfriend?
X, and already wrote, I understand.
Okay, so you can start there. But I'm willing to bet you got a message from your dad, but you could have gotten the message from your mom. You got a message, and likely whatever message you've been getting from your ex, if you got it repeatedly over a period of time, that implies that you were okay receiving that, or you were afraid of refuting it because you were afraid of them leaving you. And if you weren't refuting it, that implies that part of you was okay with it. In other words, there was sort of fertile soil, which implies you were conditioned to believe, potentially you were already conditioned to believe that message was true, or something like that message was true, which means you got it from either mom or dad. That's the fucking correlation, that you had already been taught this message a long time ago, potentially. I'm going to answer one more question here, Rob, and it's from Steffi on TikTok. She says, how can I figure out what is missing in my soul? It feels like there's a big hole. How do I fill it? You don't fill it. You don't fill a hole per se. You heal the hole. And the hole is caused by bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself. Imagine the people have come to lay the sidewalk out in front of your house. Okay. And they lay the cement and they smooth it. I used to know the name of that tool. I had a client tell me that recently because he was laid concrete, cement. And they smooth it and all that shit. And then they put the tape around it and posts. And so all the little peckerhead kids in the neighborhood won't come and step on it and draw on it with a stick, and then they leave right after they've laid the cement for the sidewalk. Well, what happens when they leave? All the little peckerhead kids in the neighborhood come out and they fucking press their hand in it and they write in it with a stick. They say Tommy is a fink, and they write it there and all that shit. Well, and then those things like Tommy is a fink, that hardens. Those, when they press their hand into it, that hand imprint hardens. Well, when we are children, the messages that we are taught about ourselves get pressed into the wet cement of our soul, and they harden, and those become the viruses infecting the operating system of our lives for the rest of our lives. You can't even fucking see them because they were in there so long. You actually think it's part of the actual operating system. You actually think that you suck. You actually think that you're not important. You actually think that you're unlovable. And that was bullshit. You didn't actually believe that. You didn't come out of the womb saying, hey, I suck. No, you were conditioned to believe that. So when you get on here, Steffi, and you say, how can I figure out what's missing in my soul? It feels like there's a big hole. How do I fill it? What you have to do is you have to begin to go down there and begin to pull out the viruses. You have to take it kind of like to Best Buy, Geek Squad, so to speak, or take it to the doctor and they pull out those 8-foot-long tapeworms inside of you. And that's why I wrote this book, to extract those tapeworms of your fucking core beliefs, to begin to go down there and jackhammer that cement that you never needed cement on the bedrock of your soul in the first place. And you have to go down there and you have to begin to identify what those messages are, and then all the pain that has accompanied those messages since then. But those messages are what cause that hole in the bottom of your love cup, that you're unlovable, you're not wantable, that who you are doesn't matter. That is what's causing that hole. And when we have a hole in our love cup, any love that we get just fucking flows right through it. It's never enough. And so we're always either giving. I'll give you more. Just give me a little bit of love. I need. Or we're taking because I need more. That's when we're using people, or that's when we're selling the farm, just trying to get someone to give love to us, because it's never fucking enough. It never fills up inside of us like it would in a normal fucking childhood. All right, folks, that's all I've got. Rob, any thoughts today at the end of this lightning round?
In these troubled times, I would only say let's try to practice kindness and try a little tenderness.
Wow, and I know that song, Try a Little Tenderness. What song is that, Rob?
Try a Little Tenderness. She may get weary.
Who's the singer of that song?
Oh, that's its standard. You can pick any number of versions. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. I was introduced to a new song this week. Who introduced me? Yeah. My daughter sent it to me, and she had me included into my workout track. I want to tell you this song. This is Saint Chrome is the name of the song featuring Daniel Caesar.
Okay.
And Tyler, the creator, and Daniel Caesar. And the fucking song is just banging. Saint Chrome. If you haven't heard that song, it's a total workout song, and it's got a great fucking message. St.Chrome, Saint Chrome. I assume that's how it's pronounced. Fucking great message and just powerful the way it's sung. And ST period. It's like street chrome. Maybe it's street chrome or Saint Chrome. And Chrome, CHROME. Anyway, great fucking song.
Second time Tyler's come up in this show.
The name Tyler.
Yeah.
Yes. How about that?
How about that?
We have a Tyler theme going on here, folks. Anyway, this has been a great lightning round. Really super questions, you guys. Thank you so much, you guys, for writing in. I've got folks saying, thank you, Sven. Thank you, Rob. Great show. I agree. This has been a great show. And some folks are saying now, hey, I'd love to be on the show. What I wouldn't give to talk with you. If you want to be on the show and counsel with me, write into production@badasscounseling.com. You can be on the show. You can counsel with me for free. You don't have to pay. If you are interested in more long-term counseling, you can go to badasscounseling.com and go to the counseling page and read it thoroughly. And you also are required to start my book. I require all new clients to be reading the book. You don't have to have it fully read, but you can get this on the books page. We have it also in Spanish, German, French. The Swedish version is coming out. But you can, if you want to counsel for free, you can come on the show. Otherwise, we have this. We also have Community Plus, which is we have our big group, support group on Facebook. It's got about 45,000 members, the Badass Counseling Group. But if you want a more intimate, it's a subscription-based book. It's expensive. I'm going to tell you straight up. But you get so much great stuff with it. You get direct access to me twice a month, as well as drawings for free counseling, all this shit. It's called Community Plus, and that's on the website, badasscounseling.com, Community Plus. All right, guys. It's been great having you here. You guys, on behalf of my entire team, Sophia, the artist who is in absentia, I've got KC over in the booth, and Rob the Rocket, always the master of all things. Have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.